a huge welcome to all of you joining us today from wherever you are. I'm Sona, an email marketing specialist here at Email Marketing Room, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be your host for today. So thank you very much for taking the time to be here, and probably we can start already the event. So the event is set to be about 50 to 60 minutes, and then we'll have a time for a Q&A session. So you feel free to write all the questions you have. And so as we appreciate all of your time, let's get started. First off, I would like also to thank you for joining our second event in the CEO and CMO series, and we'll be discussing the topic aligning marketing strategy with C-suite's growth goals. So just a warning, just so you know, we are recording this webinar and we'll make sure to send you a copy afterwards so you can revisit any part of it. Let me introduce our speakers for today. So we have, first up, we have Shaun Ospitia. Shaun is a co-owner of Eyelit, and he's also the CMO at WSI World Digital Marketing and PR in Miami. Next, we have Frank Sondors. Frank is a co-founder and CEO at Salesforge. And finally, joining us here is Shaun Cardin. Shaun is a marketing executive at Flex Legal. And the key topics that we'll be exploring today are following: CEO and CMO, achieving strategic synergy, email marketing, driving C-suite's ROI, AI in marketing, executive impact, and CMO and CEO directing marketing for growth. So without further ado, let's start with our first speaker, Shaun Ospitia. Shaun, please introduce yourself, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Hello, everyone. My name, like Sona says, I'm Shaun Ospitia. Welcome today for this topic, the marketing strategy with C-suite's growth goals. We are just diving deep into the strategy role of the CMO and CEO, how to drive measure growth, how tools like email and AI are reshaping the way we prove ROI to the C levels. So, so we're just going to continue with the topics, right, Sana? Okay. So yes. First of all, the topic, it was pretty interesting. There's 4 topics, and for us, like for me, like trying to summarize as much as I can. Strategy, first of all, achieving a strategy synergy, the CEO and CMO. Strategy synergy is like connective tissues, I said, between marketing and every other function in the business. So think about it this way: when marketing is aligned with sales, product, finance, customer success, and we don't just promote, we just propel the business forward. So that's why CMOs or the modern CMOs must lead cross-functional collaboration. This is the key, the important key for the CMOs. Marketing should sit in the same table with product teams to guide positioning, with sales teams to align with the lead quality, and with finance to justify budgets through predictive modeling and ROI. Synergy is about breaking down walls. It's about creating shared KPIs across department, unified dashboard, and real-time reporting that everyone. And from the CEO to the customer lead, it cannot just be aligned, also can be aligned on the same mindsets, you can say that. And guess what? One of the most powerful channels to drive this synergy and generate real ROI, and it's still one of the oldest one, which is going to the second topic, which is email marketing. Email marketing is often underestimated. You know, for those as on the know, is one of the most cost-effective high-road tools in the CMO's toolkit. Why? I would say because email is where we nurture leads, retain customers, drive upsells, and reactivate dormant users. So the magic happens when the email isn't just communication tool, but is more strategy revenue engine. So think about automated lifecycle campaign that guides customer from onboarding to renewal. Think personalized journeys based on real behavior, not assumptions. So think a dashboard that would show us not just open rates and about how email influence pipeline and shortening the sales cycle. So when chief marketing officer present email row to the seat level, they elevate marketing from the cost center to growth driver. But even email is evolving fast because now we're coming with AI, and because now we just know segmenting, we are predicting, now we know just writing, we are just generating. So that's when it comes with AI in marketing. AI is not just a futuristic dream, it's just a present reality. And it's reshaping how we market, how we measure it, how we make decisions. Let's start with, first of all, I would say with revenue acceleration. AI helps identify your highest convert segment, predict churn, and even suggest which leads are the most likely to close a deal. It's just like a smart targeting, less wait, faster growth. Then there is a cost efficiency. Um, AI, it's automating like 70% of your campaign production, from copywriting to image generation without sacrificing quality. Back in the days, we spent time like strategy, and then we spend a lot of time to execution. But now with AI, help us execute even faster. And that's what the most important about executive decision making. I'm sorry. AI tools now deliver predictive insight in real time. You no longer have to wait to the end of the quarter to report, because now AI help us to see the trends, performance shift, optimize opportunities, and make the chief marketing officer faster decisions making. But there, AI also, there's a lot of concern about AI because people think that AI could replace marketers. But in my opinion, it like make us superpower, like superhuman. We can do a lot of more stuff with AI. It's giving us a leverage. It's giving us a focus to a high level worth of growth and synergy, brand leaderships, and innovation. And that will bring us for the final chapter, or the final topic, with the CMO and CEO, direct marketing for growth. Today, the CMO is not just brand builder like it used to be. There are more growth architecture, revenue strategies, and data translator. We collect all the data information, then we just give it to the C-levels or the boardrooms. The role has evolved from running campaigns to owning the full marketing funnels, like awareness, acquisition, activation, and retention. Our job is not just making noise anymore, it's just more creating impact. So that's why the CMOs must lead for the growth driving strategy. That ties every initiative or measuring business outcomes like revenue, customer lifetime value, market shares. That means no more vanity metrics. It's more about clicks, and it's about more conversions. So that growth that happened is not growth that doesn't happen in segment and silos. It brings everyone involved. So CMO for the closing all the ideas. Strategy synergy. It's strategy synergy the first way. Strategy synergy is like connecting with the other departments. It's the key for you can impact better if you connect with all this, with sales, with C-levels, and then email marketing. If you do right, you deliver the ROI to the company, the higher ROI. AI is not an optional anymore. AI is for myself, I think it's executive level accelerator for innovation and scale. And then the other one, the achieving strategy. I'm sorry, no, the direct marketing for growth. It will be CMO will be transforming the CMO more like a growth architecture and not just campaign managers. So today, marketing is not about getting attention anymore. It's about earning trust, providing value, accelerating growth. That's the language now the entire business and every single department has to understand. And that's the power of modern marketing mastery, I would say, like marketing right now. And that's all. That's all my takes of this for topics. Thank you, for this opportunity. And like I always say, stay bold, stay data driven, keep leading with impact. And like my slogan says, embrace digital while you still authentically human.
Thank you, John, for this incredible insights. Also, actually, you set a strong foundation for our discussion today. And now our next speaker is going to be Frank. Frank Sondors is a CEO at Salesforge, and Frank, we are especially excited to hear from you because you are going to be the only one who's speaking from CEO's perspective. So the stage is yours, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. So yeah, just to give you a bit of a background, so I spent over a decade just generally in tech and sales, marketing, working for companies like Google, etc. And right now I lead a company called Salesforge. And we operate one of the largest AI agents companies in the world when it comes to agentic, specifically for sales and marketing. So we help companies to generate pipeline and help them to achieve the results, which makes the CMO look really good, the CEO look really good in front of their boards, etc. So yeah, that's what we do. We've been in business for about 2 years, and yeah, there's always a lot of alignment just happens, not just in this business, but also in previous businesses that I was in, where yes, you have the CMO with the CEO, and sometimes with the CRO, which is typically the chief revenue officer. That's what the acronym typically stands for. There's alignment towards something in the business, and that typically is revenue. You can have some proxy metrics in place, like what typically is called, let's say in the world of software, MQL. So these are marketing qualified leads that you need to drive, that then gets you to sales qualified leads, etc. So there's naturally different KPIs in the funnel that have to be optimized. But ultimately, if marketing doesn't optimize towards revenue, then there's always issues. I have never seen actually any CMO being successful if they don't optimize towards revenue, if they only talk about MQL, so just driving leads into the business. So typically there's a huge failure, and with everything that's happening in the world of AI, you are significantly able to align your acquisition, essentially, or acquisition dollars more towards revenue, and you are able to achieve the revenue numbers that every single org is going after with significantly lower headcount. You don't need huge marketing teams these days to achieve the outcomes that you're looking to achieve. So in our business, we scaled in the first year just generally from $0 to $3 million in annual recurring revenue without having a huge headcount in marketing. And a lot of our acquisition runs on fully autonomous systems, not just our own software that we naturally sell in the market all across the world, but also building out fully autonomous workflows on building blocks, like let's say what's called N8N as an example, what we're going to give. And that has to do all the way to changing things when it comes to marketing to the users, to sending the right emails. And what the right email means, we programmatically compute what's called a unique email to each and every recipient. So the uniqueness when it comes to reaching out to users comes from, typically in our case, 2 data sets. One data set, on one hand, data set is what is the product or what's the value prop on our end, or why the heck we're reaching out to the user when we are sending that email. And then the other data set is what we call the buyer data. So the buyer data is what's the context? What do we know about that particular person when we're reaching out to them? So we're going to go out on the web, for example. We're going to do web crawling. So we're going to go and access their website. We're going to go and access their LinkedIn profile and other sources to build the right context about this person what is it that we do in the company, and what are the KPIs, etc. So then when we're matching what is it that we're selling or what we're trying to sell to the user, market to the user versus what we know about them, then the magic happens. And this is where you can compute essentially unique, what we call programmatic emails. Whether you want to put them under the umbrella of marketing and sales, it's still the same. So essentially, a lot of the communication in the world becomes a lot more what I would describe programmatic, and we see what we call the death of templating. So there has been actually a lot of templating that exists in the world of email marketing or cold email, etc., where templates have been used as a major force of sort of reaching out to folks out there. But that is all dying, and the other reason why that's dying as well is because ultimately there's fatigue by the existing user base out in the world when they see a template, right, a static piece of message that they receive. There's a significantly lower engagement levels, and they're more likely to not want to essentially talk to that brand, buy from them, etc. They're more likely to click on the spam button, and you're going to be landing essentially in junk. So programmatic sort of first communication is really the type of communication that I see the most forward-looking companies that introduce, and the companies that are falling behind are the ones that still send the same template. For example, when you're onboarding customers. So when you get onboarded, for example, even in our business today, you'll get a uniquely crafted email delivered to you in your inbox rather than a static onboarding message. So that's just an example around how the things are changing the world of email. And there is all the tooling on the planet for you to do a significantly better job. And when you do that, and you couple, say, email also with other channels that exist. For example, you can couple email with WhatsApp as a secondary channel to increase your conversion rates in email and potentially also in WhatsApp. WhatsApp meaning, we engage with prospects within a minute or two, also or WhatsApp when they do sign up, for example, the software. And so we see also other companies using other channels to boost the overall conversion rates within the email. And we also couple with email when we're reaching out to the user with a unique email, also with voice AI agents as well in tandem. So and we specifically use voice AI agents to increase overall conversion rate. When users naturally, let's say there's a drop off, they don't end up buying, they don't communicate, etc. So you see a lot of sophisticated stuff that's being introduced today in the world to ensure you tackle the leaky bucket, right? Because ultimately you paid for these users, whether that's through Google Ads, SEO, etc., or you're marketing to them, whatever, So you have to put the spend behind, and you definitely want to maximize the conversion rates or the revenue that you can have from your list, right, from the users that engage with your business. So, so ROI alignment. So to maximize ROI, it's not just email, but like generally speaking, email is a core component, definitely what I would describe integrated marketing approach. It's not just about email, but email is the core, is a default means of communicating with the user, right? So the emails have to be really great these days, programmatic essentially, in order for you to fight the fatigueness that the users are exposed to, because the users do get a lot of automated emails, and most of them today are all templated. So that's why you have a good opportunity that you can capitalize that, and how you can naturally stand out from the crowd is to compute these unique emails. And there's multiple ways to do that, whether you are in e-commerce or SaaS or whatever the space is that you are. There are definitely opportunities for you to do a significantly better job if you're looking to increase your conversion rates, not just in email, but overall the funnel. So, and naturally, the AI and like AI agents and everything is not just coming in the world of email, but just generally in marketing overall. So you also see AI coming into the world of naturally advertising. So for example, you can use AI capabilities to craft ad copies, for example, right? Whether you're running them in Google Ads or Facebook, etc. So you do see a lot of other capabilities being introduced. And what that typically means is that you can achieve significantly better output levels, let's say better ad copy, better email, etc., with significantly lower number of headcount overall in the go-to-market organization. So that's sales, marketing, account management, etc. So, and that's what we're seeing. So we're seeing, for example, in the US, in the Bay Area, UK, Europe, we're seeing today companies being significantly leaner and meaner. So to achieve great output levels in advertising, marketing, email, you don't need as many humans as you used to have. And we're seeing up to 80% reduction in headcount to be able to achieve that. And this is, so AI not just allows you to achieve great output levels that are acceptable by majority of the humans, but it also allows you to drive efficiency levels where you can actually reduce a lot of cost internally. So that's why AI is not an optional anymore, generally speaking, in the world of marketing, but it is a must-have, because ultimately, if you don't embrace AI agents and everything in your business, your competitors will, and ultimately you will be eventually going out of business. That's what typically happens, right? Which is why businesses go out of business. You always, in the US, for example, everybody tries to always introduce the best tech and capitalize on the most recent trends. And AI has been around for a while, guys. And today is just not, there's no excuse for you not to implement systems. If you don't know how to do things, that's why we're here, right? That's why we're having this session. I really appreciate everybody having me. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. And I'd rather take and spend more time over in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank, for sharing your viewpoint. And now for our final speaker today, Shaun Cardin. Shaun, please introduce yourself, and we are ready to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Shaun Cardin. I'm a marketing executive at Flex Legal. We basically send interim talent out to law firms and in-house legal teams on like interim basis, trainees, etc. So our actual customer journey is a lot more complex in terms of it being business to business to a lot of typical businesses, in the fact that there's lots of touch points, and the marketing role within the company is a lot more top of the funnel. So the sales team plays such a big role in the company. It makes certain typical marketing roles a lot less impactful, and being able to track that is significantly difficult, especially in legal. But with regards to strategic synergy, from what I've seen in terms of my manager and the way that they interact with their CEO, I see this a lot. It's very typical that these the CMOs are just there to show numbers to the CEO, and the CEO may look at their numbers and have no idea, especially because there's a lot of CEOs that don't actually have that marketing knowledge as well. So I think achieving that synergy is a matter of agreeing on the KPIs and making sure that the CEO is educated in it. So whether that's reading the same books or just ensuring that there's agreement and full understanding on both sides, I think that's the only way that, you know, there's clear understanding on both halves. And that's obviously, you know, typically how many leads, etc., are coming through, or impressions, etc. But the problem with my industry of legal is that we can say that we've brought these leads in, but they may have gone to an event, they may have seen our ads a few times, they may have seen us 2 years ago but only came across us again. So it makes it very complex for marketing, again, in this industry, to track their leads right through. So achieving that synergy is, I'd say, is more difficult. Driving C-suite return on investment, email is definitely a non-negotiable and is also important in legal. We have mailing, we have newsletters, we have segmentation, and again, it's very top level. So as soon as we know there's a hot lead, that's when it gets past the sales, and it's obviously personal, etc. What Frank was saying sounds very interesting about how AI can, like, I understand how we create templated emails now that might have your name on it, or it might message you on your birthday. But the fact that you can develop an email which is completely new from AI sounds incredible. And I can see how a lot of businesses will leverage that with AI, and how that's going to become the norm. Because even at, like, for example, I think Nando's, they send emails to me like every 5:30 on a Thursday. But I can see it's templated. I can see it has my name and it knows what I like to order. But to think that AI could go behind that and be a little bit more personal is a crazy thought. But I think that's definitely going to drive more sales, etc., because of that personalization. Segmentation is another essential part of our mailing processes. We have, like I said, hot leads, cold leads, warm leads, etc. And being able to split that with private practice and compared to in-house legal teams, it just allows us to keep top of mind mainly. I'd say marketing, in terms of driving the return, is just making sure that we are on the top of mind of our clients. It's typical that in our work environment, we don't get clients coming to us unless they need us there and then, because it's interim, it's on the moment. It's like, okay, a case has come in, we need 100 paralegals, and now they need us. So we're constantly emailing them on an automation basis currently, just to ensure that we are the first people they think of when they need that interim talent. But it can get repetitive, and then the type of emails as well. The people we're reaching out to are lawyers and legal firms, so it's very boring, so to speak, but it's almost expected that it's boring in a sense. If that it's like newspaper, very typical traditional layouts, columns, but I think that's also important to fit in towards what they'd expect, to drive that, to make sure that our clients feel like they are still associating with a legal company and not some fun marketing team, if that makes sense. But yeah, the beauty of email, we know that people actively check it. It's not like paid ads. It's not interruptive. We know that when people are going through their emails, we're aware that they're going to look for emails. So that's why we do spend a lot of time looking at data. In terms of tracking our click-through rates with regards to subject titles, that's another place where we're starting to use more AI. We'll put all of our subject titles that we've used over the past year or whatnot and say, okay, what are the key elements of this, etc. And I know that there's AI agents as well, or tools that we should probably leverage more, that will be able to be more specific with what keywords we should be using or how we should lay out the subjects. Executive impact, we track every campaign. Like I said, yeah, we track every campaign to see. Let me see. But yeah, being able to track every campaign and see what works and generating subject lines makes the process more repeatable. And but yeah, let's go on to directing marketing for growth. I did recently read a book on marketing for growth by The Economist, and it is interesting to see how marketing acts as a function within a business. Again, I think that's something that has quite blurred lines, but I think marketing as a job role in general, it has quite a blurred existence. And again, it's very dependent on the industry, which is what makes it so subjective. Again, in my industry, it's so top level that by the time it gets to a sale, no one's thinking about what marketing did or the fact that they scrolled past an ad or attended one of the events and saw our stall. So I think sales in our industry is very important. It's very rare we have CEOs and CMOs just conversating. There's always the lead of sales there as well, because the sales need to know that they're always involved so that they can take their credit where it's due. And there's an understanding on both sides of that sales team. And that's what allows us to take ourselves through to conversion. But yeah, that's what I have. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Shaun, for your insights. And okay, if you have any questions, I'm gonna check here. Okay, we've received a couple of questions, so I'm gonna ask each of our speakers to briefly answer it. So first one is, how do you recommend CMOs effectively translate complex marketing metrics into language that resonates directly with the CEO's growth objectives? So let's go with the same order. John, if you would like to start. Would you like me to read the question again?
You're on mute, John.
Oh, yeah, John, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I forget I was on mute. Oh, okay, sorry. No, I mean, this question is pretty wide open. I mean, that's how you do that. I always said trying to explain, like you explained it for the child, like trying to, if you go to the CEO, you can go with the actually metrics and he talks about it, but then always use examples. I always do the guy who just trying to use examples when I trying to show or translate this complex metric, and I use examples so can people understand in the room, because not everyone can be in the same level. So I'm trying to be very precisely and understand through the examples, and the people can understand. That's what I use it all the time. And when it's complex metrics, and then you have to be very specific what you want to say it, because every exposure or every position you want to say it, it could be go taking in multiple directions. So you always be specific, trying to be the most precisely, and use examples, and like I don't know, like life example or whatever, you can use it, and that's will be the easy way when you have to translate or have to say something and it's kind of complex. Trying to use with I don't know, with a sample. That's what I'm doing all the time when it's very complex, when you want to say something. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, John. Now, Frank, please.
I mean, bottom line, it's at the end of the day, it's about driving revenue into the business, and right, and that's ultimately what matters, right? Because if you're going to go into board meeting, that's what's going to be discussed, and then what's going to be discussed is how does our funnel look like? What's whether we have a healthy top of the funnel, how many deals we have in the mid funnel, and so on and so forth. And yes, there's other things you look at. So let's say, if you're a software company, right? So then you look at, okay, how many MQLs are we driving, right? Because this is also, there's a sales cycle, for example, right? That you have in companies, let's say in B2B. And things take time, but as long as you have enough essentially enough pipeline for you to hit your targets every single quarter, that's really what matters, right? And then it also matters naturally what sort of like, are we actually acquiring the right customers, right? So in a lot of cases, what is also important is, and where I think also CMOs kind of get it wrong, is we're acquiring the wrong type of users, because these users may churn after, I don't know, a month, quarter, a year, right? Because ultimately we don't just want to acquire users, we want to acquire users that you retain and you can expand from, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about the lifetime value of the customer that you acquiring. At what cost did you acquire that customer? What's the CAC payback period? So the payback period of the cost of acquisition. It's kind of metrics like these, the financial metrics naturally that do matter. And the more efficient you are, right, in acquiring the customers, the more you can recycle the money that you sort of get back into accelerating the growth, right? So this is why it's very important to have really strong unit economics in place, because if you don't have strong unit economics in place, well, you will need to raise money much faster as a business, right? And dilute, being as a CEO, right, or founder of a company, you'll need to borrow money, right? But etc. So like efficiency is the name of the game today, and it can be achieved through AI and automations, agents, etc. But back maybe like 2 years ago, naturally, it was growth at all costs, and it was totally normal to be growing at exponential rates, but not being very efficient with the way that you grow your business. But that is not acceptable today. In most cases, unless you're some crazy AI company like OpenAI or whatever, or other companies that's still burning cash. But like, I highly recommend you to stay out of the topic of we're growing at all costs, because it will bite eventually, and efficiency is possible today with the technology that we have at our hands. So yeah, like that's the only thing I want to say. Like, definitely double down. It's not just about revenue, which is what matters, but how efficiently did we acquire that revenue, and once we acquire these customers and the revenue, what is the expansion potential after that, right? So, and that's what makes a CMO look really good. So yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Frank. And Shaun, please.
Similar to what John said, I definitely try and simplify it, and also comparing to averages. So, explaining industry averages so that they have some kind of comparison will help. Simplifying it, like literally down to explaining to a 5-year-old, when we're looking at things like click-through rate or, again, cost per acquisition, if you can simplify that to explain it, this out of 10 people are feeling this way about our ads, etc. It reduces it, and it'll be a lot more digestible for them. Also, as I was saying earlier, being able to sit down and agree on the KPIs and making sure that they're 100% clear on their side obviously makes the whole process much easier. But they should, you'd like to think that they, again, this is playing into the whole thing. You'd like to think they'd know what these complex metrics are, but because of that gap between that CEO and CMO, that might not be the case. And again, that could be a matter of you teaching them, coming to them and showing them, and then even testing them to make sure they understand, so that when you do come back in the future, they have that great understanding. But there's also the argument that, you know, CEOs just want that direct feedback. They don't want time. They don't want to have to waste time learning something extra, which is again why you'd simplify it, and just constantly linking it back to revenue.
Okay, thank you. Great. We have another question here. What are some innovative ways email marketing can be used to support not just customer acquisition, but also retention and expansion, directly impacting C-suite growth goals? This is a good one. Now you can start, John.
Well, yeah, that question is great. I would say like you can use lifecycle emails to, because sometimes you to retain, it just it depends on what the strategy you have in the beginning, and it's like if you're going to retain a customer, so it's like using a different email. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, depending on the strategy you want to. What is the question? Is does email marketing support acquisition? But okay, yeah. Is it for me? It's depending on the strategy you want to. You can use playbooks. You can use stories. You can use lifecycle emails like you had before. You can just reuse it. That's like for me the most innovative way to do email marketing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John.
I mean, I mean, I just would go next. I would just add that, you know, you should do a lot of sort of customer marketing within, you know, just generally speaking, right? So take your top performing customers in your business and showcase across your whole customer base how they're using your product to the max, right? These can be, you know, video testimonials that you're pushing through email, right? So, and you're kind of outlining also specific, let's say, feature that most customers maybe are not using in your user base, and that can lead to expansion, right? So let's say you have, I don't know, let's call it, you know, within the software, let's say you have a specific add-on and you believe that everybody should be using that add-on, but most of your customer base doesn't use that add-on. But here are top 1, 2, 3 customers that use this add-on to the full value, and that's something that you can showcase quite easily across multiple touch points, right? So, and you can kind of remind the same exact business or user about it, right? So let's say, I don't know, you send it out, again, it's part of lifecycle marketing, but you can, you know, remind and be timely about that. So being timely about that is so the way that we think about it in our business is if we have some sort of signal, let's call it a product signal, or some signal that we have about the user that they may be interested in this particular add-on, we would then would fire sort of, you know, an email to that particular user outlining potentially how other customers use. So these are more maybe product-based emails, right? So when we have that data from the product, it's coming from somewhere, right? And when we would engage with the user in a timely fashion to make that kind of conversion happen, right? So so yeah, using your customers is super powerful, and that's why, for example, we interview our existing customers right now across different products. We have 7 products, so trying to interview customers for all the 7 products, and then use those in a very smart ways to essentially do cross-selling, right? So that's how we kind of think about this. And so yeah, I would definitely have these champions, sort of, you know, ambassadors of your products, right? That maybe are not publicly talking about your product, but you know they love your product so much. Engage with them, and be very thankful, when you take their time, right? Because you may need to use them again with literally whatever else, a conference or whatever, right? So that's how I would approach this, and then naturally that leads to better retention across your book of business, and then also more expansion revenue. So
Okay, thank you, Frank. Now, Shaun, it's your turn.
I'll certainly say definitely making sure that the value that you're providing within the emails is something that can be shared. So whether that's similar to what Frank was saying, customer testimonials, maybe you've interviewed a customer, or links to videos and things that can be passed on or shared on to friends, etc. That can make a difference. In legal, and because of our product, it's difficult for us to necessarily have them sharing the content. However, it's not uncommon for us to be working with a lot of other companies. So if you find that your business is working with a lot of other companies, maybe whether that's on events, whether that's on writing reports, etc., that's another reason as to why it would help with expansion, because they're more likely to share that information. So if there's a report in your email that you're sharing that you've maybe collaborated with another company with, it just opens that door for more reason as to why that could be shared, and then that name spread because they're reaching a wider audience that they're already familiar with. So basically, I'll just say, like, overall, just make sure the content inside is shareable.
Thank you, Shaun. And we have the third question, last question probably. Beyond automation, how can AI be leveraged to provide strategic insights that inform C-suite's decision making? Any thoughts on this?
That's Frank.
No, you can go first. You always go first. Okay. Go first.
Okay, it sounds good. This is actually a fantastic question, because the AI, beyond of the optimization is often, the AI is more visible with AI marketing, and that's how it's like the real. But for me, it's more data, and this is the decision making. That's the question, right? Yes. So if you use data with AI, you can leverage to analyze a month of data, and even you can leverage to forecasting and predictive analytics. So you can use that in with AI, and then that would be the fast way. Because when you have the information, the value information from your customers, for your company, your products, that's where you can make the easy decisions, and that's where you use AI for that. And it's really faster, simple, and it's easy to make a decision when you use that. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Now, Frank.
Yeah, I can just add. Yeah. So apart from working, let's call it in Gen AI, I used to work for quite a few years in machine learning space. So what you can do naturally, using sort of beyond sort of automation, etc., you can predict your most valuable segments, for example, right? So with the best ROI, etc. So essentially, there are companies that provide you these predictive capabilities off the shelf. You can maybe use it if you have a data scientist in-house to predict some of the things. For example, I'll give you maybe an example from our own business, right? So if you're running a software company and we have a user signing up onto our software, we can predict whether this user is likely to buy or not based on the input data, right? So there's multiple ways to do that, and there's companies that do that. If somebody needs a recommendation, I can share later on LinkedIn. But essentially scoring customers for being what's called a proper ICP, so ICP being ideal customer profile that you're really looking to acquire. What's the match between the user that has signed up and the ideal customer profile that you're really looking to get into your business? And then the higher the scoring, the more love we want to give to that user, the more touch points we want to have, right, etc. Because you're saying we're really a good match. So definitely predicting things and then changing behavior. So that's maybe at least a bit more automation. But on the insights front, so what you can do is, let's say if you have a CRM, naturally, hopefully you do, is naturally you can pull out from your CRM generally insights. Again, customers that are really good for your business, customers that are not really good for your business, right? whether if I have 3 email touch points with this user, it leads to more conversions and like things like that. And it can be, all of that can be done. So I think, to give you one example from yesterday, HubSpot has announced what's called an MCP. Essentially, you're able to connect HubSpot with ChatGPT and ask, a lot of information about your CRM data, essentially. And that's just, it's, as recent as yesterday, right? So, and HubSpot is really leading the way when it comes to AI front. And that's an example of where you can then dig around sort of, everything that happens in the world of email, trying to figure out, like what sort of, let's call it, sequence of email events that has to happen that leads typically to the best ROI. So I'm trying to simplify this, but you can read about it. It's all online on LinkedIn, etc. And that's how I think about running or journey any business, right? So something happens in the business, and I'm trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. So of course I could apply human to pull those insights and have an Excel sheet, but it's much easier just to take your data, dump it into AI code. Let's go ChatGPT. We dump it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, this is my data. Tell me what's really working about my business, what's not working about my business, how my email funnels and all that stuff. What is it that I should deprecate? What definitely is not working? We're not seeing click-through rates. We're not seeing engagement. We're not seeing reply rates. What should I do less of, and what should I do more of, right? So that's something that I see a lot more. And if you're, a CMO that's doing this on a daily basis, these are best-in-class CMOs that I have seen, right? Because they tinker with data all the time. They ask questions on top of the data every day to try and do a better job. And I think these are the best in breed. The CMOs that don't use any form of AI, I typically don't want to talk to them really, because it feels like they're really old school, like, right? Because the people that I really sort of aspire to, just generally, or want to work with, are the ones, Frank, let me just ask ChatGPT on this data. Or let me do, like, this is a sort of the mindset that you should be in on a daily basis. So yeah, that's just sorry, long-winded a bit. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Frank. Now, Shaun, it's your turn. Thank you.
I'd say similar to Frank in terms of just simplifying data. Certainly, like I said, with all the emails that we send out, whether it's newsletters or updates on events, etc., we'll take the subject titles, we'll put it on an Excel file, we'll hand it over to ChatGPT or any kind of or whatever AI we're choosing, and then we'll draw that data out of it and make informed decisions based off that. Same with wording or structure of emails, and depending on how much data your CRM is giving you, so whether there's certain touch points, testing it again and using that to then predict the best options for whether that's email layout or, again, subject titles, subheaders, which approach.
Okay, thank you to Shaun. Now, if you don't have any questions or comments, I would like to thank you, all of you, our speakers, for taking the time to being here with us today. And a huge thank you to everyone in our audience for your participation and for the questions. And we truly appreciate you taking the time to be here. We are really delighted to have each one of you here. And this session, it's kind of a regular event session. So we are going to have a lot of new interesting topics to discuss. So stay tuned for updates and for our next session. I hope to see you again. So once again, thank you everyone for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.